I'm back.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.
Welcome back, Ben.
Ben is back.
I know it sounded creepy in the video, guys, but we welcome Ben back from his long trip in Missouri. And that being said, how's OneCast Fishing going?
Oh, it's going pretty good. I had to come back here to catch fish, though.
Were you losing less tackle?
I didn't lose any. I lost one snagless jig out there throwing the buck brush, so I didn't really lose any of that stuff.
That's a good deal. So head on over to OneCastFishing.com. Use the code TheOneCast to save 10% on all your purchases. And obviously be like Ben and only maybe just lose one jig instead of 5. So that's pretty awesome, dude. So how was your trip?
It was good. Spent time with the family. Helped my dad in the hay a little bit. Spent probably about 4 or 5 days fishing, and conditions were not good. When you don't have wind for 2 weeks straight, bluebird skies, transition, water clarity is all jacked up. It just made it difficult. I didn't get skunked every day, but it came awful close a couple of times. So,
oh, man.
The craziest thing, I don't know if I told you guys, I had 5 fish hit my topwater baits, a popper and a walking bait, 2 different days. Not a single treble hook got in any of them.
So the real question is how many points were on those treble hooks? Did you have full treble hooks?
Yeah, how rusty were the hooks?
I had brand new. The Mega Bass topwater was right out of the package. Well, it was. I hadn't fished it before. They all, so they each had either 2 or 3 treble hooks on them.
Yeah.
Well, if they only had 2, then you were missing one.
No, the poppers only have.
That's not a treble hook then.
They got a treble hook on them.
Treble's 3.
He meant 2 full
That would
treble
be a dual
hooks.
hook. Oh, 2 full treble hooks.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, what are you talking about?
Do you want to give the background on this, Trey, just real quick?
So here's the deal, folks. Ben loves to fish with a handicap. For sure. He likes to keep his treble hooks nice and filed down. Maybe there's one barb on there. I don't know.
Doesn't retie sometimes for months, maybe years.
He still goes out and catches fish. I will say, for those who don't know, Jimmy Houston, I want to say, is a huge advocate for using barbless hooks. Have you guys seen any of his content that he puts on social media and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's a pretty mixed bag of anglers across the board. He's definitely one of the louder ones when it comes to that. And there's merit to it, but I mean, most people are fishing with barbed hooks, and there's still plenty of fish, so I don't think it's as bad as a lot of folks want it.
So Ben was not fishing with barbless hooks by any means. I just wanted to throw that out there. Like, and I always thought that too. I'm like, man, are the fish getting off because the barbs are broken down on the hooks? Because sometimes it happens. Like you're fishing, you're not paying attention. And I just threw a jig away, not a OneCast jig, but I just threw a jig away. And I looked at it, and the barb was completely broken off. And I was like, I wonder if I was losing the fish because of that.
That's exactly why.
Or I just suck. I don't know. But anyways,
I will say this. The craziest one I had, right, a smallmouth hit that topwater walking bait. Came clear out of the water, probably 3 or 4 feet. Hit the plug and knocked it. He came back because I let it sit there, then twitched it. He took it under the water about 2 foot. And I don't know how, because the treble hooks, he didn't get snagged. Like nothing, just completely.
You just had it perfect.
Yeah, I don't know what he did, but he hit it, and then he came back a 3rd time and hit it on top of the water, and he still didn't get it. But there was another day I had 4 bass do that during the shad spawn.
Sure, you had hooks on them?
Oh, I'm 100% positive. In fact, after the first day I had that happen with the popper or a popping bait, I think it was a KVD splash. That's when I switched over to the walking bait and be like, let's just change out the top water. Let's just give a little different presentation, and still the same thing happened. So it was just one of those things.
Now, in Bull Shoals, do they have true smallmouth in there?
Yes.
Okay.
So they have all 3 species. They've got largemouth, smallmouth, and spotted. The northern spotted bass, they're all native there. So
here we go.
They all live right next to each other.
Okay. So you say the northern strain of spotted bass, Kentucky's, because go back to our episode with Corey Oakley and check that out, because we have invasive small peduncle size spotted bass in our systems down there. And that's why I asked you the question, because I've never been up to Bull Shoals or Table Rock or any of the Ozark region and stuff like that. So, but maybe that could be the reason they're throwing them, is because now you got the invasive smallmouth hybrid spotted bass deal going on, and they just don't like those treble hooks. You know what I'm saying? So
I did catch a lot of gar.
Did you?
They don't fight as much as you think they do.
So Bull Shoals is a gar hole.
Everything is a gar hole.
Confirmed. Bull Shoals is a gar hole.
Massive gar in there. And watch them on live scope come to chase your jerkbait.
Yeah.
I want to try to rip away, but it's also cool to catch a big fish. But they don't fight very much.
No, they're like a bag of socks.
Yeah, they just
you get a couple of head shakes usually, and maybe a death roll, and then they're about done.
Dude, so check this out. I was on the other gar hole, Sharon Harris, last night, and it's because I got absolutely destroyed during the last tournament we had on Bugs Island. I caught 0 fish, weighed in 0 fish. Never happened to me in a tournament before, and I'm like, well, today's the day. It's got to happen, right? It's got to happen. And but so I had to go lay it on them yesterday on Harris, because they're falling into that early summertime pattern. They're starting to school up and stuff, and I did. And man, I threw out a deep diving crankbait, and I laid into something. I'm like, oh man, I got a giant, dude. It was not moving. And I bring it up to the boat. Can you imagine what it is? Just guess. Take a wild guess.
Catfish.
No.
Was it a fish?
A pickerel?
Dude, I wish it was a catfish. I wish it was a pickerel. It was a pair of nasty, poopy drawers that somebody must have cracked. And I'm like, oh my gosh, dude. I'm reeling this thing in on a giant, cash-in, deep cranking rod, right? 12-pound test. That's how I like to throw my deep cranks, with 12-pound fluoro. And I bring this up, and I'm like, what? I thought it was a plastic bag. And I bring it up, and it's got the Hanes sticker on it. And I'm like, oh my, and it's just littered with duty. And I'm like, how am I going to manage this one?
I would have cut the plug off.
No. I touched it. I totally touched it.
Doo-doo fingers.
Doo-doo fingers. Washed it off for good.
That would have been the end of that.
And I had to do, sometimes like when you touch something stinky, you're like, oh man, what's that? What I'm saying? It was so disgusting. But yeah.
That reminds me of a Dave Chappelle skit that we can't get into because it's not family friendly. But
it was bad, dude. Wow. So I wish it would have been a catfish. I wish it would have been a gar, but it was definitely Uncle Bob's like crazy crappy underwear in the bottom of the lake. And you know what? I feel bad, but I did not put those in my boat and clean the lake that day. Didn't happen. So sorry.
It's cotton, biodegradable.
Is littering, and I don't know, but
it's 100% littering. But before we get
sorry.
All this is a terrible time to transition to what I want to talk about. But we're dude anyway. This is I guess a little bit better than the Poopy George, which you may have experienced if you served. Trey probably has some stories about that. As a matter of fact, I know he does.
100%,
including a Gatorade bottle. But
yep.
That's not family friendly. So next time you see Trey, if you want a story, ask him about that one. But I want to bring up my buddy Bobby Edwards down in South Carolina has an organization called For His Glory Outdoors, and what they do is they get veterans out on the water, combat veterans. They get them out fishing. They get them outdoors hunting. They help reconnect them with Jesus. If that's not your thing, that's okay. That's their mission, and I agree with it. But they get veterans outdoors, try to get them fishing, try to get them hunting. And one of their big things that started 2 years ago, they call it the second annual Guardian Classic is what it's called this year. So the Guardian Classic is an event they put on. And what it is a bass fishing tournament on Lake Murray in South Carolina. They're looking for 50 boats optimal. You can be a veteran or non-veteran as a boater. It's a $125 fee. First place is guaranteed $1,000. They also pay out a big fish to the veteran of $500, and then a captain of a boat $500 for big fish. They're looking for 50 boats. Anything over that, they'll take a veteran and a boater one at a time. But the first 50 to register, get on the roster, are able to fish that. So if you're anywhere in the area, I implore you to reach out to Bobby. He says the best way is to give him a call and his number. And I'll put this flyer up through the video here, and I'll put it in the link if you're listening and not watching. His phone number is 850-797-2546. You can let him know you're interested in fishing the tournament that he has coming up. That's on September 9th, 2023. So it's a Saturday. There's going to be more about this. I'm going to go into the whole background with it. We're going to have Bobby join us on one of our Fishing Fridays to be able to go into a little bit more detail. But I just want to start getting the word out there. As you know, we're a huge supporter of the veteran community, with Ben being a veteran, Trey still being active duty. Lots of our friends are still in or out. We support several other companies. So let's try to make this a big event. Let's make this an even bigger event than it has been. If you can't fish, if you own a company or you have a sponsor or somebody that might be interested in sending some gear so these vets and boaters have some stuff to take home, also reach out to Bobby either at that phone number or the email that's on the flyer that I'll post here. So like I said, we'll talk about it more, but I just wanted to give a quick plug because they just announced this the other day. And I think it's a really cool opportunity for us to support those that have fought for our freedom and served our country in any capacity.
You know, I think these are, when you're looking to get into a tournament and you're not looking to just go beat the brakes off somebody and you want to do something for the experience over the money, these are events that aren't amplified enough. You know, whether or not it's a veteran event or taking a kid fishing event or first responder, it does not matter. You know, the elites, MLF, the MPFL, those are your national level tour events. They get visibility for a reason. They run great organizations. These events right here don't get a lot of visibility, but they should, right? And of course, there's big companies that are sponsoring these events like Strike King and Lose and different companies like that. But if you're looking as your average angler or as a serious tournament angler, but you want to just do this for the experience, to hopefully grow the industry one cast at a time, these are events that you want to get into, right? We ran that Spring Warrior Clash this year. We had 40-something anglers on the water. There's no more Warriors on the water. There's a lot of derbies that people can get in with that go to such a great cause. Yeah. And I fully support these events. So
so check them out. Check that one out. Check out any tournaments around you. And that's a cool one, just to add a little bit more to it. But last year they had Brian New fished it. He said he's going to be back. If anybody doesn't know, he's an Elite Series angler. I believe Hank Cherry's fishing it this year. So, you know, there's some of those guys you're going to get to meet and talk with, and they're great guys and will share information. So definitely check those out. But while we're talking about elite guys, Ben's favorite fishery tournament just wrapped up down there on the Sabine River in Texas, Orange, Texas. Set a record for attendance.
Ben, did it get a lot of visibility from your eyes while you were in Missouri?
I looked on Bass Tracker. I watched some of the highlights and all. I actually think there was maybe more fish caught than usual. I mean, the winner had 11 pounds a day, so it didn't change very much.
Giant.
It was interesting. I was listening to Scott Martin's podcast. I think they published it before. They were talking about why is the fishery, why is there so many small fish? And, their hypothesis, because I think the same thing as the river down close to Mobile Bay, and I don't remember it off the top of my head, but so many hurricanes and stuff, right, have flooded that area the last decade, 15 years that may have, you know, I think it was either Canterbury or Matt Area was talking about that could have something to do with it. It hasn't grown back the way it used to be.
I mean, it happens here. If you look at the Cape Fear and the Roanoke and all those rivers, I mean, they'll have right now the Roanoke, Cape Fear, they're all producing trophy bags of fish, but look at tournament weights 7 years ago, and it was 11 pounds. And that was because we had a hurricane, and that was not even 7 years ago. Go back 5 years to before, and I can't think of the last hurricane that came here. I think remember it left all them fish on 40 and everything when it flooded. Florence, It was terrible for like 3 years, and then the fishery bounced back. But that's a rare occurrence for us. Down there, they get those systems that flood those waterways almost yearly. And so that would make sense. I think that's probably a fair hypothesis, you know, with all my weather knowledge and all of that. So I'm going to agree.
There's probably a bunch
the only time ever, but no, I'm just kidding.
To be fair, I don't think he's the one who suggested it. I think it was either Area or Canterbury. But
okay.
And then there's probably something to do with it's a river system that the nutrient level and different stuff, and it gets so hot and all.
It looks great, man. It looks like there's just be giants. The cypress trees and grass and break walls and. about everything you could want, but
it was a grind.
It was a grind, but I think this event specifically, and we can talk about the top 10 in a second, but below the top 10 were a lot of anglers that needed this event to make up points for the year. One of those anglers was Caleb Summerall. He's had a very bad season. So he finished 16th in this event, and he struggled throughout the season. And they got a pretty cool YouTube series. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like Lee Livesey, Caleb Summerall, and Logan Latuso. They got a really cool a series going on, primarily focusing around Lee Livesey. But he really needed this event. And then even, and I think Pete talked about it before, this was an event where even John Cruz, like he made a small move on, what was it, day 2, and shot himself.
He made a huge move.
Huge move. Small move as far as small fish are concerned, but huge move as far as like moving up the leaderboard into the 20s or 50s or something like that.
He moved into he had to get into championship. Or not champ, but he got into Saturday, so he was top 50.
I think he was like 24.
18th, I think, is where he ended up.
Oh, is that where he ended up?
Yeah, 18th.
18th, yeah.
But
Caleb was 16th. There's a lot of names. Wes Logan was a guy who hadn't had a great year.
Yep.
Hackney's been he's been pretty good this year, but David Williams, Brian New had another good tournament.
Yep.
Patrick Walters hasn't had a great year on the elites.
I mean, Larry Nixon was 26.
Yeah. So this is why I like this event so much, and I know that there's been a lot of haterade drink on fishing the Sabine, but you look at like a guy like Matty Wong who has had a really bad year, and then he finished in the top 10.
Yeah, he was third.
He was third. Yeah. He was close to pulling off a W.
I don't bash it as a fishery to go to. I just don't think it's the most entertaining place to watch an event. I think probably as an angler, it's great because you have an opportunity if you're struggling.
Yeah.
You don't need to go out and find a 50-pound bag,
right?
Or a 30-pound bag a day. Like if you're going to Santee, for instance, or even at Okeechobee, you didn't need a 25-pound bag to be able to compete. You can go out and fish and catch 10 pounds and have a shot. And so for an angler, I think it's probably a huge thing. It can help you get some momentum because we've talked about how important momentum is in fishing. But I do want to say a huge congrats to Brock Mosley, who's finally won one. That dude is I've always called him like the ninja because he's always floating around, man. He's a really, really solid angler. And I think they said he had finished second.
He's finished
six
second
times over his career. Last year the last time they fished Sabine, he was second.
Second, yep.
So for him to pull it out, Clark Wendlandt was up there in the lead for a while. Would like to see Clark win. He's never won in an elite event.
That's right.
He never won.
No.
And he was
AOY.
Yeah.
A couple years ago. Huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So a storied career. He's fished a bunch of classics. He was an FLW champ. I believe he's won an Open, but he's never won in an Elite Series event. So you look at, and this is interesting. This is going to take a side conversation, but look at guys that haven't won an Elite event, have been around. G-Man has never won a blue trophy.
Nope.
And he's been fishing. He's got 2 Angler of the Years, never won an Elite Series event.
Yep.
So it's truly, I think, the Opens are super hard to win just because of the number of anglers. But to win an Elite Series event and to win multiple, I think that shows the accomplishment that really is. Because Trey and I actually talk about, Trey's like, it's really exciting to see new people win. And I'm like, man, new people win every year if you really look at it.
Yeah.
Like, because there's not many, we're gone are the days of KVD coming in and dominating a 5-fish tournament. And that's one of the things, as much as people hate forward-facing sonar, I think that's one of the things that have helped that.
It's really hard to win. Even go look at KVD. I forget the exact numbers. In like 21, 22 career wins.
Yeah.
And that's since like 91 or 92 when he came out.
But I mean, if you look at when he, from, what would I say, 95?
He had his hot streak.
From 95 to 98, I mean, he was winning everything. He's had a period in there where he was really, really dominant. I don't know if we'll ever see that again. Because I think the skill gap, not that not everybody's not good. I mean, they're all great. I couldn't go out there and win one. But the skill gap for the offshore guys like that, KVD was catching offshore fish, taking northern tactics and doing things other people weren't doing, right? Throwing jerk baits offshore, things like that, that he learned on smallmouth. That learning curve for the southern guys has gone down because of forward-facing sonar. And I think it's great because it lets other people win. It's more competitive. It's not like, oh, they're going here, KVD's going to win because he's going to go catch 50-pound jerk bait in a brush pile.
It even started before that with just the better down imaging and side imaging and people realizing they have to get offshore.
Yeah,
I mean,
if you look at a name that everybody that might listen or watch would know, then it would be everybody's going to know Kevin Van.
Yep.
I mean, you've seen his name, you've seen his advertisement. So
I do want to say one other thing, because Pete, I agreed with you. You know, my hate for the Sabine comes down as an entertainment factor.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
It's not a lot of fish, little weights. It is a grind. But from an angler, a lot of anglers say they love this event because they really have to put the puzzle pieces together to grind out just a few extra ounces. Right? This is a pound and a half fish. You know, if you get on a pound and a pound and a half, pound and 3/4 fish school, that makes a big difference over 1 pounders that everyone else is catching.
just look at the weights. I mean, 3rd and 4th was 8 ounces.
Yeah,
that's a $5,000 difference.
So
6th and 7th, what's that? 4 ounces. There's another 4 ounce between 8th and 7th. That's a 2,000. So yeah, those ounces there are even more crucial. And nobody really ran away with it. Brock led. You know, he ended up with about a 3 pound, but I mean, it was anybody's game coming into the last day. I did want to see Matt Robertson go tuna fishing like he said he was. Then he found out he had to go like 100 and some miles offshore, and he knew his boat wouldn't make it. But
it's interesting to see the top 10 from this. So what I like about this from the entertainment side is it's not all of the events that you see at the beginning of the year, which are all spawn events, which is naturally the case because they got to kick the season off. They got to end before hunting season. Certain places are paying, or these places are paying bass to be there. But as boring as it may be to sit there and watch a guy live scope, I think sometimes for me, I'm like, yes, he's bed fishing. Like, just catch the fish. You know what I'm saying? And most of the time I'm not watching live as it goes on. I'm watching the highlights and stuff like that. So of course, jacking an 8-pounder off a bed is great. But from the competitive side, like, it's just a cool thing to see that leaderboard just have that domino effect across the board. And like, dude, there's some hammers inside the top 10 right now that you don't hear a lot about. Dude, Kenta Kimura.
Oh,
he's like second in Anchor of the Year points in the EQs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's dominating. Kyle Welcher, he's the leading AOI for the Elite Series right now. And then you got like, and I feel bad for Hunter Shryock, man. He's never won a blue trophy, but he has been up there so many times, right? And Matty Robertson, same thing with him. And then you got Keith Poche. He's sitting in 4th, right? So I don't even know what to think about him. I don't even know what to think about Keith Poche because he's dominating events, but then he's not showing up to some events, and then he's getting DQ'd from some events. I don't know what's going on with him, but he's showing out. And I think he shows out. He really dominates on fisheries that suit his style.
This was his style.
This was absolutely his style. So I don't know if he jumped anything. I don't know if his Fenwick wrapped gator tracks grew wings and flew somewhere, but he absolutely did a great job.
He jumped some logs and stuff because I saw they did a big drone footage of him running back in a creek, but not anything like down in Texas that got him in trouble. Well, I guess it was Texas and Texas. So. Yeah. So we talked about KVD, and I guess we can talk about the MLF. They're up there in Cayuga Lake in New York, so fishing smallmouth. And
talk about completely different fisheries from the two different or two of the major pro circuits.
Yeah. So he went out and dropped almost a 30-pound bag. 28 won in his group. 25 was second, 25 third, 5 ounces separating them. And that third, we were just talking about, well, we took a quick break, Jacob Wheeler, who Ben brought up a great point, and I agree 100%, is probably the closest thing to KVD that this generation is going to see in the dominance that guy showed on the water.
Yeah.
He struggled the first couple events in MLF, and everybody was like, oh, the 5 fish, he can't do it. Well, he won the last one, and he's right there in this one.
Yeah.
And
Group B is
Group B, where we got Cody Meyer, 26 pounds. Second is Spencer Sheffield with 26 pounds. Dean Rojas, 25. Like, they are putting some smallies in the boat, man. And that gets me pumped up because I love catching them brown fish.
It's interesting to see Dean Rojas up there in the leaderboard. Frog fishing and stuff is really his strong suit. But, Spencer Sheffield just above him, he's a rookie on the deal. And Cody Meyer, he hasn't been having a fantastic year at all in the Bass Pro Tour. So I like that and David Dudley, and I think he's the only one that was fishing shallow, from my understanding of that, is fishing shallow. So it's interesting. I like seeing the leaderboard, move around a lot.
I love seeing these smallmouth catches because unfortunately I only caught one at Bull Shoals.
Yeah, you did, and you sent us a picture of
it. Is Poche fishing the BPT event?
Oh, I have no idea. Yeah, I bet you one thing though. I bet you Kevin Van Dam was wishing that those weights didn't reset.
Well, he's only up by a couple pounds.
I know, but still,
until championship day.
I know, but I bet he's wishing like, dang man, don't reset my weight.
I don't think he's worried about it at all with smallmouth.
You have to go to the other group. Pete's looking it up here to see if Poche made it. I would imagine so. He didn't really get the practice, but
let's see where he's sitting at though.
They're not showing him on there, so he may not be fishing it.
Well, that's
nope, there he is. He had 19 pounds sitting in 22nd. Dude, whether you like the guy or not, like I know there's a lot of opinions about Keith Poche out there. The dude can freaking fish.
Yeah, he can.
He just went to Cayuga with no practice and dropped 19 pounds in an 18.5-foot aluminum boat from the Sabine River.
And they put him on Group A day one.
Yeah.
Think so. He was on Championship Sunday at the Sabine River.
And then was fishing Tuesday in Cayuga, New York.
So he went from drastic, nasty Orange County, Texas heat, right? Is it Orange County, Texas?
Orange, Texas.
Yeah.
Orange, Texas heat up into you're probably wearing a hoodie when you're out there, fishing. But how do you stay married?
Hey, MapQuest still exists.
How do you stay married with children fishing that much? I'll tell you what, I guarantee you right now I would be a bachelor on tour fishing because my wife would not stand for that stuff.
You guys keep talking. I'll be looking up at how far that drive was.
Yeah, and you're literally on. Pete is on MapQuest.
That's what I just said. I didn't even know
I haven't seen MapQuest since 1999.
And there's all these ads on it.
There's a ton of ads. That just got me off.
Why don't you check out Keith Poche's MySpace when you're done?
Hey, I tried to log into my MySpace like a year ago just to see if it was still around.
Golly, man, that's a long haul, and he's running. I think he might be running a tandem axle trailer on that 18-foot boat. But yeah, I mean that's amazing to see, and that's like the versatility and the adaptability of these anglers on at the national level is just something that if the opens come to your town like it came to Bugs Island, right, in a local one. The EQs or the open there. But if you're that guy or gal that says, you know what, yeah, bring them here to Sharon. If I said bring them here to Sharon Harris, I'm going to go ahead and spank them. Well, I very well may spank them at Sharon Harris because it's so close to my house. But you take me anywhere else against these guys and put me up against a field, they're going to dominate.
Oh yeah,
that's what I've always said is that some people are just built different. And you look at business, like there's some people who are built different. Bezos, Musk. Yep. Look at sports. LeBron James. I don't know, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. Some people are just built different. The same thing applies to the fishing industry.
Yeah,
a pro may come down, and a local who's on that lake every single day for 30 years may get a win.
Yep.
But you take that local 500 miles away and expect him to perform at the same level on a lake he's never been to.
Yeah.
Right. There's just some people are just made to do certain things.
So Keith Poche weighed in Sunday and then drove 1,567 miles or 22 hours to Union City. So he would have got, let's say he left at 5 Texas time. If he was able to get straight out after weigh-in. He got there roughly with fuel stops and everything, probably 6 p.m. Monday, and launched his boat and fished Tuesday.
Remember, it's 23 hours with the time change.
That's true.
Well, plus fuel and everything. So I said 25, 26 hours. He probably didn't get into New York until Monday, like 8, 9 o'clock in the evening. 10 maybe. And then was on the water, Group A, day one, fishing on Cayuga Lake. How do you even carry enough stuff to go from Sabine River to Clearwater Smallmouth?
Let's put it this way. If I owned Red Bull, which I don't, or any energy drink company, I would be looking at that guy right there and saying, I want to be your title sponsor.
I remember John Cox had a huge turnaround like that, but I don't think it was 22-hour drive.
I didn't even think about that. That's unbelievable. Props to him, man.
He's got to have somebody else driving with him, no?
I'm sure he's probably got somebody that travels with him, a film guy or some social media girl, whatever.
He's probably taking truck stop showers. We all know how that goes with dude wipes or baby wipes. He's probably eating, whatever comes across. I mean, I just can't imagine doing that. I mean, just fishing here locally for 3 days in a row. That last day, Pete and I, we went out on the Roanoke River last Sunday, but I fished Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I wanted to sleep for 5 days after that. I was so worn out. So I can't even imagine that kind of trek across the country and fishing like that, man. That takes some serious stamina.
I wonder if he got any fish tips.
I don't know. Do you think he went to fishtips.com and paid for where are my smallmouth located?
Would probably be a rules violation.
That was a terrible segue.
No, that was a great segue. I mean, how could it get any better to go up there and catch 19 pounds?
Oh, man.
Fish tips, if you want us to advertise for you, go ahead.
Well, what's his name? Austin Neely? He's North Carolina boy.
Is he?
Started it, yeah.
Okay.
So let's talk about fish tips. What are y'all's thoughts on it?
Well, so let's
tell everyone what fish tips.
Yeah, what is fish tips?
So fish tips, and I didn't know about this. Trey turned me on to Bass Talk Live's podcast, and he had Austin there talk about. So ultimately, what it is that you can go on fishtips.com, unpaid plug here, but you can go on fishtips.com, and you can basically buy information. So the way Austin pitches it, he's a guide. He's had clients out. They want to rebook, but he's booked up all the time. So he with some business partners, they set up a platform where you can basically pay an individual who's on the water all the time, a guide, whatever, for tips, waypoints, type of, etc. And I think it's gotten to the now to where like tournament, guys who do really well in tournaments and stuff can put their information up there and make a few extra bucks. So it's a way for anglers, guides to make a little bit more money sharing their information, and it allows other people to go in there and purchase that information to get hopefully have a better day on the water.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of local stuff on here.
So I can see the benefit, capitalism, baby. Like go ahead and start a small niche business and see if you can bring some revenue in. Totally support that. If I was not a competitive angler and I wanted to take a kid fishing or wanted to build a guide business or whatever, I could see that being something that may be beneficial.
Yeah.
There's probably so many people, if they know about this in the industry, that are conflicted on this. And really, this is a hard one though, especially from the tournament side of the house. Like, if you go to fishtips.com and buy fish or have someone else buy the fish tips for you and you look at them, like that's clearly violating a rule on the tournament side of the house, right?
Yeah. So I would think so, right? You can't get for tournament side non-public information.
Right.
So you can't go, and I don't think you can hire a guide. In the opens, I don't know what the new rule changes if they limited that as well.
It's a month before.
It's a month before you. Okay. You can't get information. So, you can't get a guide. You can't go solicit information because that's, some guys got in trouble for that last year. Mm-hmm. But anything that's public, YouTube videos, articles, all the state waypoints and all, that is all legal, open information. Where this gets tricky is that you can pay for it, and ostensibly anyone can pay for it. But as I understand it, some of these anglers can cap out the number of people who can pay for it.
Yeah.
That's what Austin was talking about on the website. So not everyone and their mother has access. Maybe you want 5 people to have this tip or 10 people, right? And that's where it becomes now not really public information.
Yep, that's true.
And so, I think the solution's easy, is that tournaments are just going to have to explicitly say, hey, you can't purchase, information and tips. And then it's going to be on, I don't know if they can work a back end deal to make sure competitors are not doing that or not, but it's an honor system, just like you can't solicit information.
Yeah.
Check it out. So everybody fishing, you're just going to have to pony up all your account information to the organization. They're going to have to check your financial records.
Lake James, man, there's a lot of Lake James stuff.
I can see this being very beneficial for your recreational angler, for a guide and stuff like that. If in fact what people are selling you is legitimate. And I know that because I did listen to it, and Austin talked about like they do the best they can at like going through people's social media profiles and like kind of building a portfolio on that individual who wants to sell their tips online or their waypoints or whatever the case may be. But dude, like, you know, as well as I do, anybody could fake the funk. Like you could post the same picture from the same pond of a fish all the time and say, yep, dude, I'm on this lake or whatever. So there is definitely some gray area there, but I mean, I understand the concept behind it.
Is there any Jordan Lake?
No, I looked. There's nothing within.
I need to find a lake that I'm familiar with, and I'll just buy it to see if it's like general information.
Yeah.
The closest lake to us is High Rock.
High Rock, yeah. Because like Fish to Moment, Johnny at Fish to Moment produces excellent content.
Yep.
You know, I've gotten some of his guides, some of his lake breakdowns before, and right, if you've been fishing and tournament fishing for a while, there's nothing really new in it. Like those are all places you probably need to check. For the most part, it just maybe helps narrow you down, kind of like the priority you want to go check them.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting here, and there's different prices, and there's probably a way in there that there's a rating system, and they're probably going to make it better and refine that over time. But you know, if you're a guy who is going to a destination lake, never been there, you're only going to be there for a couple of days, like I can understand someone paying money to go out there and have a good time.
Hey, listen, for those who are on the fishing Facebook pages, like, I don't know, let's throw out like, what is it? The Raleigh Bass Fishing or whatever Facebook page. People ask all the time on social media, hey, what are you guys catching them on? I want to take my son fishing. Now, a lot of people use that as an excuse, say, just tell me where the fish are so I can beat people in a tournament. But regardless, people are very reluctant to share information on social media. They don't want to do it. And in fact, it ends up turning into, why don't you just get on the fish or get on the lake and fish yourself? And, you know, time on the water is going to give you the answer and blah, blah, blah. There are like a handful of people that I see like help out. Like I think you've helped out before, Pete, with some people. You're not going to give them the exact grid location of where you're going.
I don't put anything on a post. I'll DM somebody.
Yeah, DM. But like, you know, there are people in a benign way asking for tips, right? On social media. They want to know what's going on. More people than not will not tell them anything. Well, now you can just potentially go buy it on fishtips.com, right? So for those of you, I guess Austin's benefiting from all those people not wanting to tell anybody anything, and now he can just, you know, have a website and people can buy it from him. So,
and it's not, I mean, that it's way cheaper, but a lot of guys will go get a guide and then the next day they're on the guide stuff.
That's right.
That happens all the time.
Yeah. Or a co-angler's on the back of your boat during practice and they tell the other angler where your spots are at. You know, really hard to keep secrets anymore. Not sure that everything needs to be a secret. I think you just need to, pick your battles wisely. I think there's certain things you can tell people like, hey, yeah, man, they're on main lake points. They're on secondary points. You know, they're on rock. They're on wood.
So I think that's the big thing. Like you buy information that is a day old, like very recent. And especially if it's from a reputable guide or something that's on the water all the time, you can probably dial in areas of the lake. Because we all know certain areas of the lake will turn on at different times that are fishing better. And that's where you can probably get the main insight. Because you can't catch another guy's fish. So like if there's a waypoint there on a brush pile and you show up there, they may not be there, it may not be feeding. But if you see a bunch of points and there's, you know, this area of the lake, then you can break it down. And then you can go from there. And that saves a lot of, you know, that's why tournament guys are not going to be allowed to do this, because that saves a lot of time breaking down the body of water. The difference is some of the big tournaments and like they always go to the same lakes, the same time of year. Like everyone kind of knows which area turns on. But again, if you're just going out to a random lake, and then I guess local anglers could do this too. But
Pete, I'm going to ask you your thoughts on this in just a second. There's two things that I like to share information with all my friends, and I don't share information with everybody, but not everybody asks me information. And trust me, my information is not that great. But there's two things that I'm not going to share with people, especially in a competitive part. I'll share areas and I'll be like, hey, they're on rock, they're relating to this type of cover. You know, these are typically the best baits to throw. I'm not going to give you where my bedfish is at, if I need to go catch it, and I'm not going to give you where a school is located unless I'm on it first, and then I'll bring you in and be like, hey, let's fish this school together. But other than that, like, I don't really care, because you're right. You can't just go catch someone else's fish unless you show them exactly where the bedfish is at, or
at that right time.
At that right time, and where that school is at that right time.
Because we're all friends here. We all share information.
Yeah,
we all share
time.
schools and stuff. How many times have we shared schools and we showed up there and like,
yeah.
well,
not happening.
They're not happening. I remember I told Pete to come down one day and he came in the lake just a couple hours after I was crushing him on a spoon, and he's like, I hate this lake.
He said, in fact, I think he said when we went out there a couple of weeks ago, he goes, Ben freaking lied to me, man. He lied to me. Like they're on the other side of the lake.
There's video proof.
But there's absolute proof. I think Pete was just like 10 feet off, and that was it.
Yeah,
they
shut down that day.
But that is even a thing. So like, if I'm going to purchase something, which I'm not, but maybe I will, from Fish Tips, I'm going to take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it with a grain of salt, because A, you believe half of what you see and nothing of what you hear. My old man used to tell me that all the time. And B, like, a lot of that is on you. Yeah. Somebody can tell you exactly what to do, but if you're not throwing it right, if you're not maneuvering that bait right, if you're not there at the right time, it's all on you. So in defense of Fish Tips, if you go on there and slaughter them with the reviews, like, be cognizant of that. You know what I'm saying? Plus, leave us a review too. What are your thoughts on Fish Tips?
I'm not paying anybody for information, but that's me. I mean, I guess I see the utility in it if you were going to a new lake, or you just want to go catch fish. But it's way too easy to lie. First of all, somebody just to be untruthful. I don't care how, like you said, they can look at my social media and look at anything, but it doesn't mean I'm giving you the right information.
Yeah.
I could tell you I caught them here and been completely the other end of the lake doing something completely different. And there's plenty of folks. I'm not saying anybody that's on there would do that, but there's plenty of folks that would go out and do that. So, if there's a verification process where maybe you have a buddy in that area that goes and checks that spot on that lake and says, yep, there's fish there. I think there has to be more to it than just taking anglers' words for it, because I don't trust anybody. I just don't. And I'm not going to like you, I'm not going to give people exactly what I have going on, even though I'm confident that if I did, they're probably not going to catch the fish.
Well, everyone's got a price.
Because there's certain First of all, if I'm fishing in a tournament against you, I'm probably not going to tell you exactly. I'll tell you what I'm doing. Like I caught them doing this. I caught them doing that. I'm not going to tell you exactly where. But like you said, there's areas where just where I position my boat is the difference between catching a fish or not, regardless of the weather condition. That's just where you need to be set up. And I'm sure we've all done it where we want to go fish a point or something, and you roll up and there's a guy sitting right where the fish are. And you're like, well, this guy's sitting on top of him. He has no idea what he's doing. Well, he doesn't know that. He knows they're on main lake points, but he doesn't realize that those fish are there. You know that. So if I tell you, oh yeah, here's the waypoint, they're on this point, it still doesn't tell you like where those fish are on the point. And you talked about it yesterday. You were looking at Harris, you thought those fish were going to be in 15 feet of water, and all of a sudden you look on side imaging and you find, well, no, they were slid up. They were in like 10 foot of water.
Yep.
They weren't where you expected them to be.
Not at all.
So you tell somebody to go fish that point and say, hey, they were in 15 foot of water there, and they run through there and together. There ain't nothing here. It's a freaking Dead Sea. Well, no, because they're 5 foot shallower today, and you just didn't see them on side scan, or you didn't look there.
You got to graph around still.
And it legitimately happened. Like, I pulled up after a boat had left because I was waiting to get on that spot, and he didn't catch a single fish. But that's because he was about 25 feet off from where the fish were at, right? For Fish Tips, I think the important thing. So, like, here's a free fish tip for you. If you're going to take a kid fishing and get them on a fish or a fish of their life, or anybody for that fact, and we're not competing, like, dude, I'm going to tell you exactly where to take that person, because that's just the kind of person I am. But the best fish tip advice is really just go spend time on the water. That's free fish tips, right? Just go spend time on the water.
Heartbroken a lot. Yeah, try to catch another person's fish.
And look, I've benefited from tips before. So when I got out of the Army, I went down to the Harris chain, and I spent the first day and a half. This is the second time I went down there, I think. Going like Beauclair and Eustis, and I caught one or two fish I was punching shallow. Like it was my first time down there. I didn't really know what I was doing. That was the first time on the Harris chain. I'd only been to Okeechobee before, and they were kind of spawning. And so I posted on the Facebook group, hey, I just got out of the Army, just looking kind of the areas. And the guy, gave me, go to this area, generally in here with the eelgrass. And sure enough, we caught a lot of fish, and Sam, flipping crickets, came down, and we caught a lot of fish. We didn't catch any giants, but had an awesome few days out there. But at a body of water that large, I don't know if I would ever really figured it out. I don't know if I would have went the hour and a half boat ride over there, right? Because going through all the canals. But that's where I needed to go, and so I'm forever grateful for that tip, just to go up in that general area and fish the eelgrass. And of course, you had to dial in exactly where they were, and they moved around every day up there, the schools and all. But there's a time and place for it. I
think on both sides, like for the person requesting, and this is off the fish tip topic. If you want to go onto Fish Tips and buy information, go for it, right? It's public. You can go do that. But the approach from both the requester and the person that is going to give information, there's an approach to it. It's not, hey, Pete, give me all your waypoints. Or, hey, Pete, I've never been to this lake before. Do you mind giving me some advice? They're two different requests. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. One is like, I'm entitled to this. You should tell me exactly what I want to know. Or I'm trying to become a better angler and figure this out, and any advice you have may help me. Two different messages.
Yep. And I do want to add one more point to this, is that, we was talking about different ways in the fishing industry. This is another avenue for someone to become a professional angler. So now guides have an additional revenue stream. I think Milliken's on there, right? You may start seeing.
Maybe, yeah, I'm not sure.
I remember him talking about Milliken and all in the podcast. But, unless they change the rules, you may start seeing higher level competitors, do post-tournament breaks down and give them the juice more than what you see on live and stuff, right? And I have no problem with that, because, right, they're trying to make a check to be able to compete in the next event. So there's, right, Milliken gives it all away, anyway on YouTube, for free. But so he may not, I don't know. He was talking about him on the podcast, and I know you remember hearing that part. But again, like an open angler who does really well, wants to put it up there. I mean, he's probably not going back there in a long time, and if it helps him make a little bit of money so he can pay the gas bill to compete in the next one, I mean, I completely understand that.
How many guide services are going to pony up their tips, and how many aren't, and those who don't are going to be seriously upset from a business perspective, right? Because now, as a guide service, you are competing with other guide services to get people on fish. So I wonder if that's going to create kind of like the Uber taxi dilemma that you had in Europe, where the taxi drivers were calling Uber drivers and faking that they needed a ride, and then beat the crap out of them when they show up because they were monopolizing the industry. There is some second and third order effects that could come from this, from a business perspective.
Yeah.
If a guide gets upset about another guide doing that, then they weren't much of a guide. Because the good guides all share information because they all want their clients to do well, and they all want their clients to catch fish. Because if I'm booked, I'm going to send you to Ben. If you're booked, you're going to send somebody to me. So we share information. We know where the fish are. The guys that go on social media and act all angry about stuff going on, they're just doing it to try to get clicks and people to pay attention to them.
Yeah.
It's like that whole fake outrage when social stuff goes on in the world and people act upset about things when you really know. You're like, I know that guy. He could give two damns about what's going on there, but he's making a big deal of it on social media. Like, I think a lot of it's that.
I guarantee you a lot of them probably were angry about LiveScope when it first came out.
Of course, I love it.
Now most of them probably converted over. Same thing about Alabama rigs in tournaments. It all, right.
It's like, I just look at stuff that goes on social media. Look at Josh Jones. Like, people were all running their mouths saying how he can't catch big fish on anywhere but Ivy. Oh, only on Ivy. And then he just went and fished his home lake in Oklahoma and caught a 14-pounder. Like one of the biggest fish caught in Oklahoma in 40 years. Like, no, it's not just one lake. Like, dudes and girls, guys, gals, whatever they are, if they know how to fish, like, they're going to catch fish wherever they go.
Yeah.
And they know what to look for. They know how the fish set up. They know the body of water. And I don't think anybody... If you ever have the opportunity to sit with somebody that's fishing and open, like in the EQs or that is an elite angler or an invitational or those high levels, MPFL, sit and talk to them about what goes into preparing before they even get to the lake and how much time they spend reading forums and looking at maps and doing all that. Like, people have no idea the amount of work that these folks put in before a tournament. It doesn't matter if they bought it by a tip or not, because it's something they probably already know.
Yeah.
But, I understand keeping it illegal and all that, but like
the amount of detail, it's kind of along the same lines with that. But like these guys making the long runs at the Sabine this past weekend, they have found ways, like you pump up the gas in your boat, but then you rock the boat and move it a little bit so you can get an extra 4 gallons because it fills all the hose.
Yep.
Yeah. It's strategy, man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, and you said like, yeah, no one will, they shouldn't be upset, or they're probably, it's not probably not going to be an issue. That's in a perfect business world, but the fishing industry has a lot of drama, and there will be some negative stuff that comes out of this. But, on the non-competitive side and the non-business side, just the recreational side, I think it's fine. I think if you want to pay for some tips and figure out what's going on instead of paying for a guide, and maybe this is going to make guide services lose money, right? Because now a lot of people are like, yeah, I don't need to pay $300 a day for a guide. I can pay $50 for some tips and go out there.
I don't think that'll last.
That's why they limit how many people can buy.
Not only that, but also like you have to know where to set the boat and how they're not giving that. I doubt they're giving that.
I mean, look at how much free content's on YouTube. I had people get mad at me when I was doing a lot of those YouTube videos like 2 or 3 years ago, showing where all the juice was on like Jordan and places. Like
why are you showing them?
All you got to do is boat ride around Jordan on a Tuesday nighter, and every point there's fish on.
Yeah, exactly.
I still have to ask Ben, but still, But I mean, like, yeah, you're right. That is the kind of the weird thing, though, is there is so much content out there. If you watch the elites, if you watch the MPFL, if you watch the BPT, like, there's cameras everywhere. You should, especially at these destination lakes, you should be able to kind of break it down. If you watch YouTube, if you watch the social media posts, I mean, man, there's so much information out there. I guess maybe that is kind of the point, though. There is so much information out there. It's overload. And so you don't know what you don't know. But if you go to one website and it's like, yep, this is where you need to go, makes it a little bit easier. Maybe spend less time scrolling through social or scrolling through social media and stuff. So
I think we'll have
trolling.
I think we'll have to let it mature a little bit and see what comes of it and start seeing people's reviews. And
I think we need to buy one. I think we just need to go ahead.
There's nothing close. If something pops up close,
let's take a trip up to James.
We could. I mean, we could buy like Lake James and run over there and see. I mean,
yeah.
I'd rather go somewhere we've never been, like Chattooga or something like that.
We should totally go to Chattooga. We're totally off topic, but
well, that's the whole point of it being our podcast. We can talk about whatever we want, and if you don't want to listen, then listen. Like, just listen, because we're dropping gems.
Yeah, we are. It's opened our eyes.
Basically,
man.
Just ask Trey Nice, and he'll tell you anything you want to know.
Anything you want to know, like don't. Like go off of what I tell you though, because you might zero in a tournament. So,
and if you're gonna fish Carolina Lakes, hit Ben up because he's definitely got that dialed in.
No, I don't. I came back here to catch fish and I caught fish, but there's too much grass now.
Yeah.
Oh, says no angler ever.
No. So all the grass from like 0, so we're on the bank, to like 4 foot, 5 foot is all dead because they sprayed it. But from like 5 foot to like 12 foot, I mean, we got coontail growing up to like 4 feet.
Wow.
And there's entire massive sections of the lake is just, there's almost walls of grass in place. And so really what you have to do is get out there on your live scope and move around till you see, okay, there's bait here. So throw around that area for a bit. And if you don't get bit, move on to the next little patch.
Yeah.
Right. Because a lot of times the bigger fish are down in the grass and you can't see them until you get a reaction strike or something out, unless they're up actually feeding at the moment. So it's a lot of going around, just looking around, spending a lot of time with your neck looking down, trying to find the right areas to cast to.
Do you have anything more specific, or do you want to put it on fish tips? I think you should put your grass patches.
It's got to be public.
And exactly.
Water,
hey, there's public people living there. But
maybe somebody buy the juicer.
But when I went out whenever I went out, Tuesday, whenever that was, one of the kids who used to use some of when we had soft plastics and all, He caught my scale. He came over and my scale, his batteries were dead because I haven't used it in so long. But it was like a 6-9 or 7 pound fish.
Really?
He caught off a little ledge out there, and there wasn't a lot of grass where that was. Yeah. I went and fished it later the next day, and they were already there when I fished it. So
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an air tag and drop it in like Terry Baker's boat, and I'm just going to sell all your spots, Terry.
You know what? That's funny though, because that kid gave you a free fish tip, and you went there and didn't catch anything.
Exactly. I mean, I saw him there.
Yeah.
Because I was catching a couple, I think I caught a 3 and 4. I was like, oh, okay. And he stopped. I was going to tell him go over there and fish. He's like, oh, he had a 7-pounder in the live well. I was like, dang, that's awesome.
So many people ask me about this. They're like, why do you catch fish and throw them back? You know, doesn't that get boring? And I'm like, dude, it's not catching fish is exciting, but putting the pattern together, even after 4 or 5 hours, and you're like, wow, finally it worked out. That's what keeps me coming back for more. And that's my other free fish tip is if you want the chase, then that is going to get you addicted to this industry.
It sucks when you put that together at like 2:15 on a tournament day.
No, dude, because we check in at 2.
You're like, I just figured it out.
Yeah.
And you hear it all the time at the ramp, like I figured them out too late in the day. And it's really true. I mean, I can tell you a number of times where I either have a small bag or I don't have a limit. And it's like, I just couldn't find nothing. And then at 2:15, I get on a bite, but I got a 30-minute run. And it's like, catch what you can as quick as you can and just get back to weigh-in. So
there is something about, especially summertime fishing, there's a bite window like 2 to 3 o'clock. It turns on again for a little bit, then it dies off to about 5 or 6 o'clock.
Yeah, and this is why I can't stand checking in at 2. I check in at 2, like our tournaments, we check in at 2, and I know from 2 to 3, it's like a prime time, especially during the summer.
We're always 3 for our stuff.
Oh man, we blast off at 0 dark 30 and it goes to 2 and I'm always the first flight because anyways, man, freaking just go chase the fish, figure out the puzzle and then sell your fish tips, I guess. You know what I'm saying? So
do you set your own price on there for tips?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I don't know. I'm going to withhold a true opinion. I know I had one off air that was rather disturbing. Not disturbing, but opinionated. But, you know, the more I think about it, and you guys brought up a lot of good points, I kind of want to see where it goes. Like, if folks are having success, and I think it's awesome. Like Ben said, it's a way to get a little bit extra money in a fisherman's pocket. And it's a way to get people on fish that may not have caught fish otherwise. So it'll be interesting to see as it matures because it seems like it just kind of launched in the last month or so. I don't know the exact date, but yeah, the first I heard of it was you messaged us about the BTL, and I haven't listened to that one. But real quick before we come to an end here, because we're kind of running out of time and we've covered our topics. Speaking of Bass Talk Live, did anybody watch the Bass Talk Live Milliken work that drama out?
I didn't watch it, but I did listen to some portions of it after I zeroed on Bugs Island.
How was it?
I thought it was mature and in both Matt and Ben taking the time to actually create dialogue and talk about each individual perspective and what they thought was right, and then coming to a mutual agreement. So, I thought it was good though.
So for anybody that doesn't know,
because I'm lost.
During it was the last Open, so on Wheeler, and apparently this happened somewhere else as well. Essentially, every point Milliken pulled up and started fishing, Matt Pangarak with Bass Talk Live would pull his boat up and fish the same point. There was one point where he was casting over Milliken's line. In Milliken's breakdown after Wheeler, he says something about it. Like, I guess I can't fish anything. He put a post on social media about, people following hole buzzards, or what he calls them, hole buzzards kept me from being able to fish my stuff. I had to cast over other people's lines. And it came to head who it was, and it was Matt with Bass Talk Live, and it was Ben. And so they got together on air and hashed it out for the world. So, regardless of what side of the coin you took on that incident, if you're a Milliken fan, if you're a Matt fan, if you're not a fan of either one, I thought it was really big of them and a huge positive thing that happened to the sport, that they were able to sit down like men and talk the issue out like adults.
I'm gonna have to check that out, because the way you described it, if somebody's already there and you pull up after, like, that's like a no-no, right?
Yeah, and it was apparently like, I didn't get to watch either of the full videos.
So Ben was there day one. He was like boat number 4, blasted off. The reverse order on number 2, he got like boat 220 or something like that, way down there. However, right before takeoff, Matt said, hey, I'm going to go fish that area. I'm going to go fish there because I also found fish on there as well. Ben said, okay, dude. And he goes, but just pull up. Like when you get there, just pull up and we'll fish it together. Well, the issue is Matt was sitting on top of a shoal or a high point in the lake, and it's like only 4 or 6 feet of water. And Ben, when he got there, told Matt, he goes, hey, you're actually sitting on top of where the fish are at, where I want to cast. And so when the snapshot was taken, it was taken by Ben's camera guy, and Matt happened to be in the background, and that was the picture that they posted about hole buzzards. And so then you can see the confusion there and stuff like that. They worked it out, and you're right, Pete. They worked it out like 2 grown men, 2 adults, 2 professionals.
That was just one point there. There were multiple.
Oh, there were multiple things, but I mean, obviously we're kind of plugging their stuff here, but like it's good stuff. It's good stuff to listen to because that is exactly how we believe you should handle business, right? Yeah. Create that dialogue, create that opportunity through podcast platforms and things like that to get your stuff out there so that there's no confusion, because you post a picture, it's either worth 1,000 good words or 1,000 bad words. Yeah. And we all know exactly how that works out on social media.
That is always interesting how they handle scenarios like that, where a guy is on fish day 1, day 2, good reverse order. They both found the same fish in practice. It happens a lot on like ledge fishing lakes and all. Yeah. Because I remember Kentucky Lake several years ago. And he came down, they were fishing the same stuff, the championship Sunday, and your boat had to be in one position to make the right cast. And whoever had the faster boat got there first. And the other guy, I think they were fishing bumper to bumper. And the other guy who got there second, just because his boat was that much out of position, didn't catch a fish and had to go someplace else. It just, sometimes it works out like that.
Yeah. That is, man. But the tip is like, let's just do what they did and grow the industry at one cast at a time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So you guys got anything else?
No, man. Yeah. Welcome back, Ben. Appreciate you jumping in here from Missouri. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Glad you made it back all right. Glad you have all 6 points on those treble hooks. And too bad you didn't catch more, but hey, at least you caught some.
Yeah. I'll end with this. The craziest thing, I caught a smallmouth in like 15 foot. There was 4 others with it. And as I was reeling it in, I was watching on live scope. They turned, went off the ledge into like 100 foot of water. I watched them do it.
I heard them pings.
Well, it was after, because I cast down. They all went down on the snagless jig, the flipping jig. And that one picked it up. And as soon as I started set the hook and reel it on, they turned and went away.
They knew what was up. Yeah.
That
wasn't their first rodeo.
Got to throw the weedless net in there after that.
I did, in the same spot, and I caught a massive bluegill.
Yeah, because the bass were in 100 foot of water.
Yeah, they went off the ledge and suspended someplace. Yeah.
We hope you guys are enjoying the summer so far. Get out there, get on the water, get some experience, get some outdoor therapy. We will see you on the next show.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.